Welcome in. Oof. Come on, we cannot start the week like that. Technically, we started the week yesterday. Welcome in. I am the Crypto Bull God, and this is all in the charts. If you appreciate the content, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, drop me a comment. You got to click the bell icon for all notifications to know when I go live each and every single weekday to bring you TA content that you guys can ask me questions about as well. I got to work on the lighting on this camera. I don't know why this camera looks so hideous. I was trying to adjust, which is why I wanted to be punctual and be here at 4:45 Eastern. But that's the reason I was a minute or two late here, because I cannot get the lighting right on this damn camera. It's interesting, when I record videos, the camera that pops up for that, it looks fine, but for whatever reason, I have to adjust the exposure to some degree, I guess, on this stupid OBS thing that you have to connect to between that and YouTube. If you guys have never live streamed before, it's not as seamless as you think. Welcome in, DJ. Glad to see you here. Oof, Juan, and Kyle. Anybody else in the live stream, let me know. Happy to have everybody who's aboard today. Of course, I just live streamed yesterday, so there's several things that we're not going to discuss today that we already discussed yesterday. There is one item I kind of wanted to re-hit on that's going to tie into the 2-week and 3-week chart on Bitcoin. But we're going to kind of get into the price action that's been going on today. You know, one of the questions that I was asked yesterday from Jorge was, with all the... And I want to be sensitive here, and I want everyone to realize this. There are a lot of very serious things going on in Israel, okay? And my comments are not meant in any way to take away from the human element of this, okay? It's the point is, this is a TA-driven, chart-driven live stream, okay? So I don't mean to be insensitive about the fact that there are a lot of real-world things going on. With that being said, please keep in mind, everything that I'm speaking today is purely driven at the technicals, okay? So Jorge had indicated or asked the question, are we going to see a really big red day tomorrow? I said, there's nothing in the charts I'm concerned about. Kind of hit on all this stuff yesterday, and I said, maybe we get some red tomorrow. Maybe it's a nothing burger, as they say, and we open red and close green, which is actually what we got, by the way, today. But I said nothing from the macro perspective concerns me when I look at the charts. Because keep in mind, when you guys start throwing these things in the comments today about all these concerns about real-world events, I'm not saying that there aren't concerns. Believe me, my mind wanders about the people in Israel, okay, real-world stuff, the concern of the people over there and things going over there. What happens if America intervenes? What about stuff here at home? There's a lot of stuff where my mind wanders with that stuff, and nobody here can forecast a black swan event. But outside of a black swan event, I'm literally just looking at the charts and interpreting the data. And once again, there's nothing overly concerning that I'm seeing in the price data that leads me to believe that from a macro perspective, we're not going to see a lot higher upside in these next 3 to 6 months, and ultimately 9 months, depending when the market tops. You guys know that I'm not a 4-year cycle maxi. I don't look at things in a silo environment. I still believe that Bitcoin is going to top somewhere around the halving date. Who knows if it'll be March, April, May, June, or as late as July. But those are my views. Okay, those are my views, and nothing has changed in the market to lead me to conclude otherwise. Again, nothing has changed in the markets to lead me to conclude that we're not going to see new all-time highs in these major indices. I'll keep saying the same thing over and over again. Nothing has changed. That we're not going to see new all-time highs in these major indices in the fourth quarter of this year, as late as the first quarter of next year. I will share one concerning view with you on the Dow Jones. Now, this concerning view on the Dow Jones, and I'm sure we might see the same thing on the S&P and the NASDAQ, this is something I've been talking about. If you've really been following the channel for a long time, I think my first video that I ever created, if you really scroll back, was talking about what we're going to hit on today, all the way back in 2019, when little CBG was a little CBG. I think it was before I was even CBG. You can actually look up what my old Twitter handle was. But at that time, what I was talking about was some concerns that I was seeing. This time it's different, guy. What I was seeing was concerning in that chart. Nothing has cleared up on those higher time frame charts. And that also leads me to the similar conclusion. I'm getting lost in my words here, but the things we're seeing in the Dow certainly lead to the thought process that I have that we are ultimately going to see a very big correction in the stock market. But I still believe that there's going to be a melt up before a melt down. I've continued to state these things over and over again. If you guys have tuned in, the market's not going to do what the majority expect. If it did, if the market did what the majority expected, then we'd all be bazillionaires living on islands with sexy women around us and drinking tequila. Clearly, that is not the case. That's not my current situation. I have none of that. Well, I have tequila. That's about it. Don't have an island, don't have sexy women around me. So let's just all keep that in mind. I was buying a bunch of crypto today. In fact, one of the things I was thinking of coming on here and sharing with you guys, I was looking at my OG portfolio, my old school portfolio here of crypto projects, whether you're talking about your Ethereum Classic, your XLM, your Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, Doge, your Zcash, your Dash, whatever. Just that whole portfolio that, if you looked at it last year, was very, very small. And I've just continued to buy these projects, just continue to buy them. Portfolio is looking pretty good at the moment. I know what I've said in the past that I might just hold on to those tokens and not even sell them because of the nostalgia of it associated with those projects. I don't know that that's the case anymore because at this point, as I've been evaluating that side of my portfolio, I have accumulated what I would consider a significant amount of those tokens. So we might be selling those next year. So in any event, guys, let's get into the charts today. Let's kind of talk about immediate price action that's going on today. Of course, in the markets, in the broader markets, if we kind of take a look at my main watch list here, by the way, congratulations. I would like to throw out a big congratulations to the Flare community. Did I not come on this channel for the past couple weeks and say we would see Flare under a penny? Congratulations, Flare community. Flare is under one motherfucking penny. Congratulations. I owe it to Hugo Fillion for being such an awesome leader of that project to lead us down the abyss of what will eventually be negative pennies in the Flare token. Let's take a look at that Flare chart. How beautiful of a chart is this, guys? Aren't you glad that you got this airdrop? Look at this. This is one beautiful of a chart. Look at this thing. Now, actually, if we inverted it, this is what we wished we would see, right? This is a nice, healthy trend. The unfortunate thing is, this is not in the direction that anyone would want it. This is horrendous. This project looks like fucking hot garbage. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Until this chart turns around, this is one of the absolute worst charts that I have taken a look at in all of crypto. It looks like hell, okay? So we are under a penny right now, and it's just continuing to fall. So props to the Flare community. Flare is on fire and not in a good way, yeah. Clearly, I should have sold whatever I was airdropped and never staked it and delegated it because this thing is going to hell in a handbasket. Do what you will with your Flare tokens. I have not hid the fact that what I'm considering now is when we do get that euphoria in the market and Bitcoin's blowing well past $69,000, I will reassess that Flare token price, the USD price. Most likely, I'm going to get the hell out of that project because the chart looks like crap. Okay, let's get into the Bitcoin price. So this is on the 12-hour. You can see we're trying to regain this $27,500 area of price confluence. Really right now, we're just coiling in between the 50 and 200. We need to decide what we want to do. Do we want to break back below the 50? Or do we want to break back above the 200? You guys know all about that $28,000 zone of resistance. We don't need to continue to hit on that. If we take a look at the daily, Not much has changed since yesterday. You can see we have a bearish candlestick coming in today. We're still under this 200 simple moving average. We'll have to see how we close today. You know, we opened, just to kind of level set the conversation, we opened at 27,930. We had a low of 27,280, and we're sitting right now at 27,600. So, and we hit as high as almost 28. Did we hit 28,000? Yeah, we hit 28,000 today, essentially. So we'll have to see where we close out. Ideally, we want the thickness of this red body to diminish in size. So it'd be nice if we could close up closer to $28,000. I do not think we're going to close today at $28,000, but something a little higher up in that price range, maybe towards $27,700 or $800 would be nice. But right now we're sitting at about $27,600. Now, one point that I wanted to re-emphasize on this channel, and it's something that I want you guys to keep in mind, and we're going to get into the 2-week and the 3-week chart on Bitcoin. The higher time frames for everyone here is most critical. We need to understand how the higher time frame views look, the macro views look on Bitcoin, okay? This is the weekly. Now, what I was attempting to communicate yesterday, and I wanted to make sure these points were crystal clear. If we first evaluate the price data, because price data is king, price is still bearish on the weekly because we're under the 200 simple moving average, right? Ultimately, for the price to turn around, for us to kind of start checking boxes off, let's get above the 200 simple moving average, which is roughly 28,200, okay? The next step, ultimately, it doesn't even matter if we get above the 200 simple moving average. The main thing is we have to take out this lower high, right? If we zoom out from a macro perspective, this lower high at roughly 31,800, it's lower than all the way up here at 48,000, right? So we want to get above 31,800 once we get above the 200. Once we start getting up in this zone, now, again, this is just the basic premise in technical analysis. You have to take out prior lower highs to really begin to build bullish momentum and to shut the crypto bears up. Because if someone said to you, this was nothing but a dead cat bounce, there's nothing I can say besides giving you all the indicators that I give you within different charts to say otherwise. They are factually correct that until proven otherwise, this is nothing but a dead cat bounce. We have to begin to take out 31,000. Let me clear up this chart. We have to begin to clear out 31,800s, right? So if we're sitting up in this area, then they could say it's still nothing but a dead cat bounce because we're below 48. That's fine, and that we can consolidate in here. Now, once we come up here, they can start to say, well, you're double topping, right? 69,000, you're up at 67, 68. You're going to double top. Okay, I can't invalidate that until we start to break up towards 70,000. So the point of the conversation is, with each successive bounce, it is true that you can argue double tops, you can argue dead cat bounces. We have to continue to invalidate the bearish structure to shut the crypto bears up, right? They do have some legs to stand on because it is true, even though I can sit here and I can show you all the charts I want to show you that begin to continue to instill confidence that I'm going to see a macro turnaround in the charts to the upside, we ultimately have to invalidate the lower highs to shut everyone up ultimately. And then the ultimate sign that we're, truly in a bull market, even though I believe we're in a bull market, the ultimate thing will be taking out $69,000. So just keep that in mind. Now, the other important point on the weekly that I wanted to re-emphasize from yesterday's live stream, the three indicators that we always look at on here, the MACD, what I was attempting to say yesterday, the MACD has flattened out, and as long as we can continue to see bullish momentum this week, we should see a near cross or potential positive cross in the MACD, which would be bullish. This point I didn't think I made very clear yesterday. or at least I fumbled around with my words and I was just a little bit too wordy. So I wanted to, sometimes what I do, I don't know if you guys realize this, sometimes what I do is when I record a video or record a live stream, not all the time because I go live almost every day, but I go back and I listen to myself and critique my wording, right? And really ask myself the question, am I coming through in a clear and coherent manner? And as much as I think I'm a really good communicator, it doesn't mean that there aren't many opportunities for improvement to communicate to you guys better, okay? So ultimately what we want to see on the RSI, the reason I said yesterday this was neutral / bearish, we're still ultimately creating lower highs on the RSI. You see the descending resistance. The only way for me to start to begin to feel bullish on the RSI, we have to take out this prior lower high on the RSI. It's the same thing on price data. The same thing that applies to price data applies to the price indicators, okay? And this last lower high on the RSI is right at 63. So what we have to do, okay, if we draw this at 63, we need RSI to come up and break 63, because now once we're breaking 63, this is no longer a lower high, right? And now we want to start pushing up towards 70 and above. So I wanted to make that point clear. One of the reasons that we should feel cautiously optimistic or positive on this, look at our stochastic RSI. We've seen continued momentum to the upside on the stochastic RSI. We're well above 20. Okay, and we got 49 over 38 on the stochastic RSI. It looks very healthy. Now, these are two new charts that I wanted to take a look at with you guys. You know, one of the things, admittedly, when we closed out the weekly chart yesterday, that I didn't readily realize with yesterday's weekly close, we actually closed out a 2-week candlestick, which is significant. So on this 2-week candlestick, let's take a look at what we're seeing in the price indicators. Let's start with the MACD, okay? Let's start with the MACD. And sorry, I just want to make this a little larger. Look at the MACD here. We've remained positive. The histogram has declined in bullish momentum, but we've remained positive. We're above zero. We still have a positive cross, which is great to see. Let's take a look at the stochastic RSI. Now, this is very important. With this 2-week candlestick close, again, someone was failing to recognize this on Twitter today when I posted this Ethereum chart. And if you're watching right now, recognize that my comment was this pattern is still holding. We're right on the upper trend line. This is a 2-week chart on Ethereum. And I'm saying we're at an interesting point because the ascending triangle is still valid. This 2-week candlestick, ladies and gentlemen, this is 1 day. There are 13 days left for Ethereum to print. We could go, people that don't understand technical analysis don't realize this. We could come all the way down here as long as we close above the trend line. The pattern is still valid, everybody. So when we're looking at this 2-week candlestick right here, please recognize, okay? Please recognize. We have a red body right now, right? We got 13 days to go, guys. 13 days. So we're just beginning. But what's really positive to see that I wanted to point out on the stochastic RSI, typically in the past, if we study the historical price data, we're not going to go back and look at every single point in time. Historically, when we've seen on a 2-week chart, the stochastic RSI get a positive cross like this, and we're above 20, the trigger line, that's critical, we have seen significant moves to the upside in price. So keep that point in mind. Now, the other thing that I want to keep in mind from a higher time frame perspective, this is why you can't get lost in the weeds of looking at this is what I really try to emphasize on this channel. And if you appreciate the content and you appreciate the realism in what I'm saying, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. This is why we can't get lost in that day-to-day volatility, right? There's always going to be outside world influences impacting our decisions in life and how we feel about things. But ultimately, we need to reset our mind and go back by going back to the charts and understanding logically what the data factually says, okay? In this case, the other thing I want to start to see turn around in the RSI, there's kind of two things on the 2-week time frame that I'm looking at here. An RSI level of 50 and an RSI level of 56. Now, check mark 1. We've gotten above 50 on the 2-week RSI. That's very good to see. We want to maintain that price level because historically, not in every case, you can see here it was not the case. Historically, when we drop below the 50 RSI on the 2-week, we do run the risk of seeing significant downside, okay? Once we start pushing above 56, you can see we got a little bit of a fake out here. Once we push above 56, historically, if you study the chart patterns in the past, okay, in the past, we see significant rise in price, significant rise in price, significant rise in price, okay? So I want to see that RSI, which currently right now, the RSI on the 2-week is sitting at 50, it's about 52. We want it to close above 56, right? So we would love to see between this week and next week, we would like to see some bullish momentum push price up because that would get the RSI above 56. Now, when I would feel confident, I'll give you a price target to look for. In 2 weeks, 2 Sundays from now, if we manage to get prices to close at or above 31,800, more than likely this RSI is going to be above 56, at 56 or above. And this MACD is going to have a histogram value that is going to be darker green, or at least, yeah, it would be darker green, and the MACD would continue pushing up. Stochastic RSI would continue pushing up. So, ideally, I'd say in the next 2 weeks, it'd be great if we could see a candle body close at or above 31,800. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Now, I also wanted to take a look at the 3-week chart because there are some interesting things going on in the 3-week chart. We're going to get a candle body close at the same time. We just opened this. Let me see the two. Okay, so we will get a candle body close at the same time as our 2-week close, coincidentally, on the 3-week chart. Now, this is a chart that I don't see a lot of people talking about, the 3-week chart. There's so many different time frames you guys could take a look at. If I had enough time in the day, I'm sure I could take a look at a 5-week chart, a 6-week chart, a 7-week chart, whatever. This is a 3-week chart, okay? And in this chart, what we can see is the MACD is not yet above 0, but we have nice momentum picking up in the MACD. If we can get a bullish close here, this MACD should get at or above the 0 trigger line, which is great to see. Take a look. It's in a book. Take a look at the stochastic RSI. I know I'm corny. Take a look at the stochastic RSI. Now, what do we want to see on the stochastic RSI? You can see we're starting to get a positive cross, right? The blue is above the orange. What we want to see, we want to get above 80. That's where we want to get above on this 3-week chart. That will increase the likelihood that we're going to see a significant push to the upside. This is something else. You can sketch this out on TradingView. Take a look at a 3-week chart. Last thing I want to look for, I didn't bother to take a look at the RSI levels to see if they're any different. I can't imagine they're too different. I still have 50 and 56 in here. But right now, the RSI level on the 3-week, is very similar to the 2-week. We're sitting just above 50. We want to start pushing above 56. So, again, one of the things that I really want you to take away from the conversation, thumbs up for everyone new tuning in. For everyone new tuning in, introduce yourself if you're new to the channel or if you're returning like DT, who I'm sure is listening. The thing that I really want you guys to walk away with from this conversation is I want you to walk away with the recognition that this week's price action, let me make sure my VPN, good. I want you to walk away recognizing that this week's price action and next week's price action is really critical to the current perceived successes that I am anticipating in Bitcoin's price in the fourth quarter. These next 2 weeks are very important, so I would keep that in mind. Now, What else did I want to take a look at with you guys? This is a weekly chart on the S&P. You can see we're starting the week strong despite tensions around the world, despite all of the craziness that's going on right now. Very, very scary times, depending what part of the world you're in. You can see that we're starting off the week strong on the S&P. This is not surprising given the comments I just had yesterday. I said to you guys I was fully anticipating a bounce. Now, the question is, can we start to take out the descending resistance and ultimately take out this lower high? We have to begin. It's the same comments that I had on, what were we looking at? Bitcoin. We were looking at Bitcoin's RSI, right? We have to take out this lower high at 45.41. Okay, 4,600. We have to push above that. Same thing on the NASDAQ. We have a strong start to the week on NASDAQ. We have to take out this descending resistance and take out the lower high right here, which is at 15,619. Okay. Now this is and the DXY, by the way. The DXY continues to look very bearish. Now, this is only one candlestick for the week. This could certainly turn into a green candlestick. But the thing to keep in mind on the DXY on the weekly is the fact that what I pointed out yesterday, we have a gravestone doji, which is a strong indicator that there is a much higher likelihood that we will see a continued push to the downside. So that's that. But what I wanted to have a conversation about, and again, if you so desire, you can go to my YouTube channel, and you can go to my, I'll do it right now. Actually, I'm curious. Was it my very first video that I ever published? You know, I don't, while I'm looking for this real quick, I think for you guys that are listening right now that were here for this conversation, and I've brought this up a few times, when I started this channel, when I first published a video, I should say, I did not envision myself being a content creator and an educator on YouTube. That is not what I envisioned for myself. Even when I started the CBG podcast, for you guys that were here, I just did it for fun. Like I did it for fun, and I still do this for fun. But now things are getting a lot more serious for me, and I do want to be a true educator and content creator. So yes, if you look, oh wow, I didn't publish this in 2019. I have a few private videos and unlisted videos here. These are, that's funny. Some weightlifting stuff. This is hilarious. And a dog that I used to have. Oh, this is crazy looking back on this stuff. Anyway, if you go back to my old YouTube content for the stuff that's actually public, this is hilarious. I have a video. Maybe I should reconfigure this and put a nice little thumbnail on this. Maybe it would actually get some views. I have a video that I published in June of 2020 on the Dow Jones correction. And this was after the beer virus. Now, one of the things, I have not watched that video in forever, so I couldn't tell you everything that's in that video. But one of the things that I hit on was very basic premise. I think I looked at a monthly view and a 3-month view. But the general premise here, one of the very concerning things I'm seeing in the Dow Jones, and I've been noting this for years, the Dow Jones, as of this point in time, right here, okay, it continued to move higher. See how we're moving higher in price? Look at the RSI going lower. You see how the RSI is decreasing. This is bearish divergence on the RSI. Now, this is a 3-month chart. I'd actually be curious to pull up the MACD. We also have a negative cross on the MACD, which is interesting. Okay. But the more concerning thing to me is you can see the resistance here, almost a touch there, touch here, touch here, a touch here. You can see we have a little bit of an upsloping line here, but thought process is if we do get that harsh correction that I believe is most likely, whether that occurs next year or whether that occurs in 25, 26, 28. I'm listening to so many different podcasts and YouTube channels that have so many different thought processes from a cyclical perspective on when we could see that real big correction in the stock market. One thing I will tell you, as I've always told you, when we do see that really bad correction in the stock market, it's going to happen when the fewest people expect it. I'd like to think I'm going to be on top of it, but being a realist, there's always a possibility I could get thrown a curveball. You always have to be open to that, and then how do you respond to it? I'd like to think that I'd be on top of it, though. But regardless, when the fewest people are expecting it, I do believe for there to be a major correction in the stock market. It'll be at a point when people are feeling really good about things. But you have to consider when you're looking at this view, okay, if my general thesis is correct and we see new all-time highs, now we're looking at the Dow Jones here, right? If we were to see some sort of a run-up, each candlestick on this chart represents 3 months of price data, right? So the next candlestick, this thing just printed in October. The next candlestick is not going to print until January, and it's going to represent January, February, March, okay? If we saw something, I'm just going to just for the sake of conversation, okay? Just to illustrate my thoughts, if we saw something, just to give you general expectations, guys, I could not fall asleep last night. I slept in yesterday, couldn't fall asleep last night, got up early this morning, and I'm suffering a little, so I'm going to be going to bed early tonight. By the way, Red October, forgot to mention that at the top. Go Phils. Game 2 of the NLDS tonight against the Braves. If we see something like this, okay, let's just say it extends later than I think. Let's say it extends all the way until the fourth quarter of next year, and the stock market doesn't top till then, right? Let's just for the sake of conversation, I'm just illustrating something, right, for our conversation. Let's say the Dow goes all the way up to 47,000, almost 50,000, right? Okay. Now, in general, what I'm expecting is some sort of a really harsh correction, right? Really harsh correction that'll go deeper than this, actually. But what you have to ask yourself is, what would we experience in the RSI as well, right? That's where I'm going with this. So I would expect some sort of a topping zone up in this descending resistance, and then some sort of potentially to this downward channel. You can see the touches here. Maybe the RSI bleeding all the way down to historic lows. You can see we haven't touched this since January of 2009, right? So it's anyone's educated guess. And I know I shared this with my father recently. You know, it's anyone's educated guess what's going to happen in the stock market. But this is one of these big picture perspective views that, guys, I haven't lost sight. I don't want anyone here to think, I said this yesterday, I don't want anyone here to think I'm a permabull. I can be bullish on the technology in the crypto space because I am, no matter what the market conditions are. But as it relates to the charts, as I start to see things that are very concerning to me and I'm getting nervous and I believe that it's more prudent to be conservative with your asset allocation, I will come out here and say that. The responsibility to myself, there is a sense of responsibility to my community because I have this content, I'm putting it out there, I'm trying to educate people. So I will put it this way. The responsibility I have for myself, for my own financial investments, and the responsibility I have in messaging to you is to not catch the top, and it's not to catch the bottom. That's not the responsibility I owe to anyone. The responsibility is to understand when things are becoming very overheated and very oversold. Okay? It's not catching the tops or bottoms. And when things are starting to signal those ways, I have to begin to communicate that to you. And I have to inherently understand that about my own portfolio and adjust accordingly. We're not there yet, in my opinion. I still think, again, we have another leg up. But this view, if you guys think that I'm looking at things with rose-colored glasses, you have the wrong perception of how I'm evaluating the markets. The Dow Jones is still going to operate within this negative divergence, in my opinion. And whether we even come up here and break descending resistance, I think ultimately we're going to roll over. We are going to have a significant correction. I just don't think it's going to happen when most people are expecting it. That is the key thing to take away. Let's see. Yeah, DJ, I would agree with you. When the DXY does fall below 100, which I definitely think it's going to, when it falls below 100, we should see things appreciating significantly in value. You know, it's interesting. People will look back, I'm sure, on this time and say what they want to say and create whatever narrative they want to say about it. But it's interesting that if you actually study the history of money, great video series out there by Mike Maloney on the history of money. It's really hard to not argue that the United States is not following fashion, not following in lockstep with the Roman Empire. That we sort of, and I don't want to get on a political tangent here. We're not going to. But, you know, welcome in, Track. We're funding Ukraine. We're potentially intervening with Israel and Iran. And we're using our dollars to fund all this stuff. And currently, the current situation that's going on leaves me to believe that there could be some excuse, because I'm sure the government is looking for an excuse to turn on the printing press, print more money. Guys, we've been here too many times before. This is, if you study the history of money, this is one of the biggest, it's actually the biggest way that any country devalues its fiat currency. War. We need money to fund a war. Whether it's a real war or a perception of a war, turn on that printing press, devalue your money, inflate everything. And you want to know why the United States dollar, again, this goes back to you can tell me any news narrative you want, but we've been talking about for months that the DXY would top in the 105 to 106 range. Fine, it hit 107, okay? We now have a gravestone doji on the weekly that is telling us more than likely we're going to have trend reversal to the downside. We've had like 12 weekly candles. Guys, it's all in the charts. This is why the name, again, the news is going to follow the charts. I keep saying these things over and over again. The charts do not follow the news. The news follows the charts, okay? Everything was evident in this chart to say it was bound to roll over sooner rather than later. And here we are, right? Just like I've been coming out here saying, it's not nothing is guaranteed to you. We're like 5% away from all-time highs. We're having a correction. We went up like 32%, right? More than likely, we're going to hit new all-time highs on the S&P and NASDAQ before the end of the year, or at latest by the first quarter of next year. It's just all in the charts, guys. I don't know how else to put it to you. You see this stuff play out, and then you look at what's going on right now, and it's a perfect excuse at some point to begin printing money, devalue the currency, wrap up inflation. We all know we're never going to get to 2%. All this work on interest rates, we all know that at some point next year, I don't care what the Federal Reserve says. At some point by next year, there's going to be some sort of dire situation. We're going to have to significantly scale back interest rates. What are they at? 5.25%, 5.5%? We're going to scale that shit back all the way to 2%, wherever it needs to go. And there's so many things I could go into. I don't want to go on too much of a tangent. But ultimately, all that stuff is very interesting to me. And I've told you guys, I want to learn a lot about real estate, and be better equipped financially with how to invest in different pockets of wealth where it exists. Real estate is one area. But as interesting as that stuff is, I allow all this mumbo jumbo to a lot of people, all this chart stuff to speak the language to me in terms of what to expect. So allow the world events to play out the way they will. But the charts are telling us what is most and least likely. Again, people just have to, as a math guy, I get it, but people just can't fathom that they can just look at this and it'll tell them what is most and least likely. They have to create a story. They have to say, well, CBG, you ultimately were correct because of this war or this event within the United States that resulted in us printing money and the Fed had to do that. No, that's not why. It was in the charts. It's in the fucking chart. I don't know how else to say it. Outside of a black swan event, all the data is here. Look at this shit. All the way back to Jesus Christ. The year 1900, okay? The Dow Jones has price history all the way back to before 1900. We can use all of this to ascertain what is most and least likely. Like, I don't know how else to say it. Hit the thumbs up, by the way. I appreciate it for support because it does help to spread out the live stream to more people. Believe it or not, the little action by hitting a little thumbs up does help me a lot, so I would appreciate it. That's only if you appreciate the content. If you don't appreciate the content, feel free to drop off. You're not going to hurt my feelings. You're raising a good point, DJ. One of the most important things, I think, is to have a plan and follow it. If you keep changing investments, I agree. I've said that before. Unless if something significantly, materially changes with your investment philosophy, do not change. I agree. Yes, I agree. DCA, dollar cost average. No one here, myself included, I'm never going to outsmart the market. The best thing I can do, look, Caspa is a great example. Caspa could pull down. I just bought more Caspa today. Caspa could pull down to 4.3 cents. It could pull down to 4.2 cents. It could pull down. It could have already bottomed at 4.5 cents. It could go. I don't know. I don't know where it's going to bottom at. I don't know where Harmony won. I don't know where Alchemy Pay. But what I can do is I can pull up a chart and unemotionally evaluate it where historical levels of price confluence are at and say, this is a good price level, I'm buying. Oh, it went lower? That's a good price level, I'm buying. And DCA in. It's just one of the, it's just the smartest thing you can do. No one can tell. If you're following, I'll call them an influencer. If you're following an influencer who's telling you he or she definitively knows when prices are going to top or bottom, please unfollow those people. No one knows. Anyone with half a brain cell knows that if anyone is telling you that, they're a charlatan. All right? They are lying to you. Charlatan. They are lying to you and they're being disingenuous. Follow people that are real with you and just read and interpret the data and say, that's a great price level. We could go lower. This is a great price level. This is a great price level. It depends on your perspective. I'm not here to swing trade every week with you. This is a long-term investment strategy. And I'll point out the thing that I've shared with you guys before. Again, was anyone, this is from the live stream yesterday for anybody who was here. CBG was buying, maybe you weren't. Do you really think, at the end of the day, looking back on things today in 2023, when we go back to 2018 and 19, did anyone say you were an idiot if you were buying up here at 4,000? Or if you were an idiot here, maybe we hit 3,900, or you were an idiot here at 3,300, or you were an idiot here at 5,000? If you bought Bitcoin between 5,000 and 3,200, were you an idiot macro perspective for any of those purchases, guys? Wake the fuck up. Like, wake up. It's about DCAing at logical levels. You're never going to pick an exact bottom or top. Buying Bitcoin at 3,000, 4,000, or 5,000 a couple years out is a monumental, extremely high return on your investment. Stop trying to penny pick everything and say, well, is Bitcoin going to, I don't know, we're at 27,600. Do you think we could go to 27,200? Who the fuck cares if you're investing for the long term? Like, does it really matter? Like, does it really matter? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. You're psyching yourself out of DCAing into a very logical long-term level that makes sense. Like, look at the weekly, guys. Like, this is all you should be telling yourself. We're under the 200 weekly moving average. How many times in price history has it made sense to buy Bitcoin when the price is under the 200 simple moving average on the weekly? Come on. Seriously? We were at the 200 SMA here and we went up. We were under it here and we went up. We're under it here and we went up. We're under it here and you're telling me we're not going to go up? Please. Until proven otherwise, you would have to be a complete moron at reading charts to not understand that the price levels we are at today on Bitcoin are a tremendous buying opportunity from an investment perspective. You would have to be a complete moron at reading charts. Okay? I'm not calling anyone here a moron. I'm saying you are a moron at reading charts if you can't look at a weekly chart and tell me this is not a significant buying opportunity. Just saying. Sometimes I just get a little passionate and a little, I don't know what you want to call it, upset when I see a lot of garbaggio out there with people trying to pick 27,200 or 27,300. I'm not here to swing trade with you every other day. That is not what this channel is about. This channel is about reading a chart more from a macro perspective, understanding what is going on. Are we bullish or bearish and why? That is what this channel is designed for. A lot of comments. DJ, you've dropped, I apologize, DJ. You've dropped me so many comments. I don't know if I can get to them all, honestly. Agree, money printing is a tax. Let me try to get to all these, DJ. I appreciate your engagement. Believe me, I do. It's just hard to get to all the comments sometimes. Correct on the debt comment. I agree. Raul, now I forget his name. Raul Paul. Is it Raul Paul? Jeez, now I forget his name. Raul from Real Vision is a awesome mind to delve into. Yes, track historically real estate is a good investment. That's why I want to learn more about it. Yes. I want to diversify a little bit the older I'm getting. Track, I think they're two different animals. Crypto and real estate is a different animal. You got to ask yourself, why are you investing? Crypto, here's what I would say. Crypto represents one of the largest degrees of volatility that you can experience in any asset that you could invest in, especially the lower market cap you go, okay? So very high degree of volatility. Now, with that high degree of volatility and risk comes potential massive upside. Potential massive upside that you will not see in anything else. But with that volatility and risk also comes potential downside and risk in losing a lot that you won't see in most other things, right? Real estate isn't that case. Real estate over the long term is a safer, I would say a safer bet. Now with that safer bet, you have lesser downside risk, but you have lesser upside potential as well. That's what I would say. Airbnb would be interesting to do. Back in the day when someone used to be in my life, we talked about having a house that we would Airbnb and then have like the real house, you know? You can do an Airbnb right. Man, from what I've seen, I Airbnb. I think it's a great investment opportunity that has come out of social media. There's so many changes technologically that are going to take place. You know, I was having a conversation with my mom the other day. I don't know when it was. We were talking about AI, and I don't know how I got on this conversation with her, but I said, what do you think's going to happen when Tesla comes out with all these self-driving cars? You know, if you thought Uber and Lyft was like a big thing and it displaced like taxi services, what do you think's going to happen when you just go on your app and you can have a car come to you and it's self-driving? Like, we're not very far away from that. I think things are going to look, if the adoption of AI, that S-curve is a lot sharper than prior forms of technology, which based on what I'm reading, it's a lot sharper of a technological adoption curve, then by 2030, I mean 7 years from now, things are going to look a lot different. Regulation's going to have to catch up. It's going to have to catch up. It's going to look a lot different. It's going to displace a lot of workers out there that thought they were ahead of the game, which they were, for getting into Uber and Lyft. Now you have self-driving cars picking you up. It's gonna be pretty crazy. And there's always opportunity with that. You know, there's always going to be job displacement, but there's always opportunity. Oh, I'd be preaching, DJ. You know I'd be preaching on this channel. I always keep shit real on this channel. I might get demonetized on this live stream because there was a little bit of profanity in there, more than usual. So, yeah, it's all right. It's all right. As long as I don't get a community guideline strike or whatever that crap is. I appreciate it, DJ. Believe me, I do. I want more people. Honestly, I want more people. I see a lot of people in the viewers and fewer people drop a comment. I would just want to know who's tuning in. Like, even just to say hi, honestly. Just to say what's up. Like, you don't have to drop any meaningful comments. Just to say, yo, CJ? Yo, CBG, what is up? Yeah, I'm not a Michael Saylor fan. I've already explained that. I think he's a little out there for me. Yeah, I'm not. I think something's off with him. It's just my opinion. I think something is off with that guy. He just, his personality, something about it just gets me. What's up, YC? Good to see you in here. Ooh, listen to that. Ooh, I'm gonna have to fix my bell's not working. I'm gonna have to fix it. Yeah, I'll fix that later. Correct. The market does what the majority don't think is possible. Appreciate all you do, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. Brian, good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Sounds like I'm loading a gun. Guys, does anyone have any TA questions? If not, I'm going to sign off. The Phillies are playing in about 20 minutes. I will take one TA question if there is. If not, I'll be back here tomorrow, so it's not a problem. Yeah, I tweeted this earlier today. I bought a bunch of crypto junk. Bought a bunch of crypto junk. I'm being... the hell's the word? This is what happens when you live stream. I'm being sarcastic. Okay, I'm being sarcastic. Camillo! See, here's a new guy to the live stream. Welcome in, my friend. Greetings from Miami. I recently started to follow you. Thanks for the great content. Well, thank you so much, sir. I'm in South Florida as well, so you're not too far away from me. Thank you so much. A very U.S. ring bell. Yeah. Oh! I got to work on that. I'm going to be working on that during the Phillies game. I don't know what the hell happened. You know what happens? I get really animated and really excited on this live stream sometimes, and I like punch the ringer, and then it just gets all funked up. So, all right, guys, I'm gonna tune out. Thank you to everyone for engaging in the comments. Thank you to everyone new who engaged, for returning viewers. We're going to be back here tomorrow on Tuesday. Did want to give you a heads up before you sign off. I will be here definitively tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, more than likely Friday. Well, we'll see about Friday. That's always a 50-50, right? And then next week, I'll have a little bit of a disconnect there in terms of going live. I know Mondays are not going to work for me definitively, so just keep in mind next Monday I can't go live. It'll be nearly impossible. Greetings from Chicago. I don't have any thoughts on Filecoin. I did hear that in a recent interview from him, by the way, so I know what you're saying. Saucerification, thank you for the comments. I don't have any thoughts on Filecoin. I'm not really too privy to the project. I thought the last time I evaluated the chart, it didn't look too good. But if you're back tomorrow, we can evaluate the chart tomorrow. I'd be happy to take a look at it. But I don't really have any thoughts on the project. I just know that maybe he holds a big bag. I don't know why he's so big on Filecoin. I'm not super, like I said, I have a surface level understanding of the project. That's it. So, all right, guys, Until next time, let's all spread awareness and let's carry the education forward. Take care, everybody. Good to see everyone.